Hey everyone, and welcome to another Sasquatch Theory podcast. In this interview, we have Josh from St. Louis, Missouri, who had a terrifying Dogman encounter near the Cahokia Mounds in Illinois. The Cahokia Mounds is the site of a pre-Columbian Native American city directly across the Mississippi River from the present-day St. Louis. The State Archaeology Park lies in southwestern Illinois between East St. Louis and Collinsville. This area of the United States is known for its high violent crime rate, and it's just a dangerous place to be, especially after dark. The city of St. Louis was once known as Mound City, and it was built on top of Native American grounds. It is a very busy industrial city with a large population, and there are billions of Native American artifacts that are buried below the city. Could this land possibly be cursed? And it reminds me of the letter that Alexander sent to his mother saying that even the dirt in Afghanistan was hostile. He sent some of the dirt from Afghanistan along with a letter to his mother, and she experienced some violent activity. All of a sudden people started fighting and they killed each other. When the European settlers arrived in North America, they drove the natives off their land and committed horrible crimes against our fellow man. It is said the natives cursed this land. People have also claimed to have found giant human skeletons in remote areas of the United States. Could the cryptid phenomenon somehow be tied into these mounds and the giant skeletons? My personal belief and conclusion is a lot of the paranormal activity that we experience, the cryptid phenomenon and alien and UFO phenomenon, is connected with these mounds and the giant skeletons. I believe the giants and the cryptids were a mistake and they were not planned, and somehow they are stuck in between two dimensions. Hell was created for the devil and his angels and for the people who refuse to follow God and are not granted access to heaven. Could it be possible that the giants are stuck in our dimension and they are not able to go to heaven or even hell? I believe it is possible the giants are trapped on our plane of existence, and whenever they died, their bodies did not have a place to go. I believe this could be an answer, and not a scientific answer, more of a theory on why people experience extreme paranormal activity and sometimes run into cryptid creatures. Remember, people have claimed to see orbs associated with cryptid creatures. People follow tracks in the snow that just disappear. People have seen Sasquatch that just vanish into thin air. People claim that whenever you dig in certain areas, strange activity starts to take place. There are many mysteries that have never been solved as far as missing people, missing time, vortexes, portals, and strange UFO activity taking place underground, underneath the ocean, and in the skies above. The Nephilim and fallen angels gave humans technology back in the day, and you can see evidence of that throughout the world. In today's time, people claim that the aliens are giving us technology, and this is nothing new, people. This has been done before, and there is something very dark going on, and I believe that the giants, the cryptids, the paranormal, and the alien activity is all connected. Is this an absolute answer? No, but we have to consider that all the things that are being hidden from us are somehow connected to each other. Alright, enough of my outlandish theories, and I apologize, guys. If you guys can, please like this video, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. Alright guys, let's dive straight into Josh's terrifying Dogman encounters near the Cahokia Mounds. All right, Josh, welcome to Sasquatch Theory. How are you doing today?
Doing good, man. Just got off work.
Good deal. Josh, if you would, tell me a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and your Dogman encounter from the very beginning, please.
All right. Yeah, I'm from South City, 33. I don't know. I grew up out here. Um, I don't know. I was a problem child, that's for sure. So I was expelled from school at the time. I linked up, but I had always been like in martial arts and kickboxing and stuff like that. And when I got out of juvenile, I ran into one of my friends who I sparred with. His dad was like a 10-time world kickboxing champion, but they weren't seeing eye to eye at the time and all that. So he had introduced me to a trainer to keep me out of trouble because I was obviously getting into a lot of trouble. I was living out of my car and stuff like that. My parents kicked me out. It wasn't a good situation. So I've been training with him and this guy who's a Bosnian guy. I guess he was a refugee or whatever from whenever that happened from Bevo Mill and whatnot. And I was pretty much bumming it out in Dutchtown. So I met him in March, and for cardio, we would he would take us to Cahokia Mounds, and we would run up the mound, literally like jog up it. And like when it first started, I'm not gonna lie, I couldn't do it. You know what I mean? You get halfway up, you start throwing up and stuff. Like it was rough. But the encounter happened in August, so it had been, I mean, almost 6 months, and that was like a warm up to us at that time. And then he had one of them white, I guess, what do you call it? Like a white, I don't know. I don't want to say what I'm thinking in my head. The just I guess like a white utility van, you know what I mean, with none of the windows or whatever, like just back windows and front windows. And we'd hop in that van, and then he'd take us down to the riverbank, like off the Mississippi River on the Illinois side, and we would run down that for about a half a mile, just because like to stay light on. It was a training regimen where it's like where you're trying to stay light on your feet, because if you're a kickboxer, it's not just like boxing. You can't just stand. You're kicking, you're doing all kinds of different stuff. You're blocking kicks. It's a different beast. You know what I mean? So we got to that part. We're already exhausted. I mean, Missouri in August, anybody knows, or Illinois. I mean, you're just right across the river, same thing. Missouri in August, it's humid, it's nasty, it's sticky. I mean, it's just awful. And we'd had some kind of messed up experiences out there where, there was a homeless camp of people where they tried to attack us one time, and then, packs of wild dogs were out there. There was a lot of different, just that we ran across a body that was like hitting the riverbank and stuff like that. So the guy that was training us, he always had a shotgun in his van that was it was a pump action shotgun, that he kept full of slugs, and then he had a Draco, and he had like two 357s. And just because the riverbank thing, it was such a good, like it was too good to pass up, I guess would be the easiest way to put it. It was too good to pass up for him. He had explored it. You know what I mean? He picked out this certain spot. You got to, drive over the train tracks or whatever. And there's a bunch of weird off roads. If anybody from that area would know what I'm talking about. So, yeah, so he'd take us down there or whatever. And on this in particular day, we did Cahokia, we did the mounds, and then we're in the van and we're driving down there. And we used to have to spar for who got to sit in the front seat, and there was no back seats. So you sat on a bucket that was literally bungee corded to the side of it. But anyway, so that's where I was sitting because I lost just about every time because the dude, he was 185, I was 160. So we get to that point, and we had drawstring bags, and he would give us, both of us, a 357 for when we jogged the riverbank, just because, and he would wait for us, and he'd time it, he'd hit his timer and say go, and we'd go. So we're jogging, there's driftwood and different stuff. You're jumping over it, you're moving around, whatever. And he's ahead of me. He was much more experienced. He also wasn't in juvenile. He didn't have the pass and the whatever that I had. He was just better than me. That's the easiest way to put it. And we got out of sight of our trainer, and then there's another part where you'd turn. And as he made that turn, I started to get up to it, and I got overwhelmed with this smell, like of legit death. Like, I mean, it was death. Like not like it wasn't no wet dog shit stuff. It was literally just death. And I went to one knee and just immediately vomited. And I heard him yell. And we had a code like for, you know, what if something bad was happening or whatever, and it was just RNG, which meant run and gun. And it was like he turned heel, and all of a sudden he was back. You know what I mean? It didn't even take him 30 seconds, 10 seconds probably. And I could see something, like I could see, because it was so hot out and the sun was, beaming down. I could see a shadow moving, but it wasn't moving really fast. It was moving kind of slow or whatever, like through like behind the foliage. And I just pulled the gun out because I was like, what are we running from? It's probably just some stupid dude or whatever. And I saw like this hand pull the foliage, like start to pull the foliage. I didn't see a face, I didn't see a body, I didn't see anything like that at first. It was a hand, but it kind of looked like, the easiest way I could describe it was, it looked like Sabretooth Sand from like X-Men, but hairy. If you ever seen like the actual X-Men movie, like the, Origins one or whatever, where he's got the crazy claws and stuff, not the weird other ones. But yeah, so I saw that and immediately was just like, what in the hell am I looking at? And just, I shot it. I didn't know what else to do. Like, and I just went pow, 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 pow. And he was like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And he grabbed my shoulder and just like started pulling me. So we sprinted back, and when I did that, I heard this. I mean, like, I don't know. I guess I don't know the best way to describe it. That. Kind of also stunned me. I guess the noise, because it let out this, like, whatever it was, let out this, just, I don't know. It was like excruciating to your ears, and like you could feel it in your body too. It was like 100-year-old smoker slash bear slash woman being gutted sound. I don't. It's really hard to explain, to be totally honest with you. But and we were experienced running this trail. We were experienced doing. I mean, we had ridiculous cardio. We were back to the van in a very shortly. Um, then I don't know. I started shaking a little bit more than I'd ever normally do. Like, that's weird. I normally don't get freaked out, but I guess I've never really told this story like that. You know what I mean? I've never really told the story
No,
to
you're
this
fine.
extent.
No, I
So
understand. Experiencing
the
something like that will terrify you, and whenever you talk about it, you relive it, and you start sweating and getting nervous and putting yourself back in that moment.
exactly, and that's like how I'm feeling right now. It's like I got that goosebumps or whatever, like all over again. It's like my body feels hot. It's kind of, I don't know. I haven't experienced that in a long time, but anyway, I'm gonna try to just get back to it. But so we're getting back, and we see the van or whatever, and I can hear something still tearing through behind us, and it seemed like it was right behind us. So like I took the pistol as soon as because I still had 3 shots left. So as soon as we took the thing and I saw the van, I took the pistol and just put it behind me, like in the center of my back, and pop, 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 like really quick, as fast as I possibly could. And then I noticed our trainer, he was sitting. So like, how you can pull yourself out, like if you're driving a car or whatever, you can be sitting on the window if you got the window rolled down, and you can be above the like you can be have your body over the top of the car, or in this case van. So he's got this shotgun, and I just hear boom, boom, boom. And I mean, you got to think, this all happened maybe in 30, 45 seconds. We didn't even make it. I don't even think we made it an eighth of a mile before before I even smelt that, threw up, turned around, and we went back. I don't even think we were that, you know what I mean? So he's unloading on whatever's behind us, which I didn't, all I saw was a hand at this point or whatever. And then we get to the van, he grabs the handle and he slings it open. We both just jump in. I sling it closed. He gets in the front seat. Trainer sits down. Van's already started, and he skids out. And like I said, there are railroad tracks, like pretty much right. I don't know. They weren't right there, but they were pretty close. He skids out. He starts going, and we're after that. Like I was like, dude, I gotta see what the hell that was. Like, so and I'm also climbing to the back to my little bucket that's, like I said, bungee corded to the side of the thing. I pull myself up on it and I look, and as soon as I do that, we hit the damn railroad tracks, and it just goes boom, boom, and my head's bouncing. But like eventually, like I just kind of shook it off. Like obviously, I was a kickboxer, so I get hit in the head all the time, or back then I did. So I'm looking out the back window, and I see it looks like one of them. So there, I realized at this time that there was more than one. One of them was lying on the beach face down, and you couldn't see it. Didn't have a head anymore. Like you couldn't see it, or as far as from what I could see, it didn't have a head. Maybe, I don't know. There's blood, stuff like that. There was another one that was totally fine, and it was on all fours or whatever, and it's looking like straight at me directly. And I'll never forget its eyes. It had like those orange, like it was on. It's hard to say that they could. I wouldn't say they were glowing, but they were just so intense. You know what I mean? And it had like the head of, like, right now I own an English Mastiff. He's like 200 pounds. He's huge. It had a head kind of like that, or at least it was like the size of that almost, but bigger, like maybe double that, but real thick, like, just a really big. Obviously, it didn't have like the Mastiff cheeks, like the smushed face or anything. It was more protruded. It looked more, I don't know. To me at the time, the only thought that could come to my head was like, that's a really big freaking wolf. And then it stood up, and I was like, no way, no. And then we were outside of it, and that was. And then we're flying back. We skid onto the main road. Nobody said a word. We get on the bridge to go back over into Missouri, like actual St. Louis, Missouri. And our trainer was like, he was a man of very few words, and he didn't speak great English either, but he was like, you tell no one, you tell no one, you saw nothing, you tell no one. And that was pretty much the end of the experience. But then after that happened, we get back to the gym or whatever, and then I get I get my friend's car because he was kind of I was kind of like, I don't know, he was kind of I don't want to say he was taking care of me, but he was kind of making sure that I wasn't out in the street doing stupid stuff like I had been doing before, because we were both we made a pact to dedicate, our life to this pretty much. That was supposed to be my career. That was what I was trying to do, type thing. So like, we're heading back to his dad's house. His dad, the 10-time kickboxing world champion, Mr. thought he was the coolest guy on the planet, type thing. And we're heading back, and I was like, dude, what did you see? And he was just like, I don't want to talk about it. And it took like, I want to say like 3 days before he truly opened up about it. Like I had to get him partially drunk, I guess would be the way to put it. Cause yeah, we were drinking like, and he was just like, that thing was standing up, and I swear to God, it had somebody's arm in its hand, and there was a ripped up, because there were homeless camps back there occasionally. These homeless people would camp back there, and there were a lot of missing people going. Like at that time, there were a lot, and they were always blaming it on like packs of wild dogs, which is a real thing. There are packs of wild dogs out there. That's like, it's not false at all. He was like, dude, I could have swore it had like a hand in its hand, and it was like eating at it like a drumstick. And I'm like, you gotta be screwing with me, dude. Like, come on, just be straight with me. Like, it was just a wolf. And he's like, no, dude, it was standing up. And then I thought I had hit my head a bunch, and that's why it was I saw it stand up. You know what I mean? Like, it was almost like I thought I was maybe in a dream state, or maybe, partially knocked myself out or got a little bit. But the more I look back at it, I didn't even have a headache, so I couldn't hit my head that hard. And then the way he described it and everything else, and I was like, "Well, did you see the second one?" Because I saw the second one, and he goes, "You saw it?" And I was like, "Yeah, the like it was like kind of red because it had a reddish. It looked black, but in the sun, with the sun beating down on it, you could see just like a reddish tint to its fur a little bit." And he's like, "The one with the orange eyes?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." And he goes, "That's the one that was standing up." And I was like, "Well, where'd the other one come from?" He's like, "I don't know." He's like, "I didn't." It's like, "I don't know." And I was like, you know what I mean? Like, so we were both kind of in awe because we both saw it in different ways, I guess. So the one that I thought he saw eating whatever must have been, I guess, in a way on guard or something. And the one that he saw that was eating something was the one that I saw sitting down that stood up, I guess, if that makes any sense. Like they were together, so to speak. And I mean, I guess that's the experience of it. That's as far as what we saw and everything. But obviously, we pretty much made a pact to never talk about it. Our teacher, he died like maybe 2 years later. I went to, I got in trouble again. I went to jail. Blah blah blah. He was champion for I don't even know how many years before he started kind of falling off the wagon and stuff like that. But and that's pretty much it as far as the way, you know, what we saw and everything, how it all went down.
Okay, Josh. Well, I appreciate you for sharing that with me. And I can only imagine that was the most terrifying thing that you've ever experienced in your life. What time of day did this occur in August?
So we were when we always got the mounds at 6. You know what I'm saying? So we'd be at Cahokia Mounds at 6 a.m. going up and doing all that. And then I mean it was like a 5 minute drive, maybe. Maybe not. I don't know. Boris drove really fast or shit. Well, he's dead, it doesn't matter. The old man drove really fast. So I don't know, maybe 5 to 15 minutes away from the mounds to get to the river, the part where we were at. So then, and I mean, obviously to jog up Cahokia Mounds, if you've never been there, you don't really realize how massive it actually is. It's a big thing. So it's probably, I would say, about 7, maybe 7:15 a.m. You know what I mean? It was still there was fog coming off of the river. Still, sun was up, but not all the way like up in the sky. But it didn't matter. It could have been the middle of the night. It would have been sticky and gross outside. Like it was like that work those couple worst weeks of August. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like where they're just
absolutely.
extremely hot.
So it's extremely hot. It's pretty much humid outside. It's almost dark time. You and your friend are out there training, and you
It's
see.
almost no, it's like morning time.
Oh, morning time. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
no, I'm talking. It was. Yeah, no, we got there at 6 a.m.
okay. So you're out there
Yeah,
early
yeah,
training. Yeah, that makes sense. And whenever you're going through the forest, you see the shadow moving through the woods, through the brush, correct?
yeah. Well, I seen it. I didn't see it until after he had already, turned heel and yelled, RNG, run and gun or whatever. And I didn't see it until I saw him, and then that's when I kind of saw the. It wasn't even really. I guess I could see it. I guess it would have been a shadow, but I said shadow, but it's more like a damn mass. You know what I mean? Behind the foliage, because you know how a river works. When you're on the beach, there's plants and trees and shit that jut. They come out, they overhang, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was behind that. It was coming from behind that. he had just run it and then turned heel, came back, told me to run type thing, and that's when and it, like I said, it went to start pulling the branches back or whatever, and that's when I shot it in the hand.
Yeah. And do you think this creature was stalking you guys?
I don't think so. I don't think so at all, actually. I think we surprised it. I think we ran up on something that we weren't supposed to be running up on. You know what I mean? I don't think it was, no, I don't think it was stalking us at all. I think he just ran, we just wrong place, wrong time, to be honest.
Yeah. And how many times did you shoot at the creature?
3 times the first time, and then the second time when we were running, it literally felt like it was right behind me when I saw the van. So I mean, in the most awkward, terrible shooting way you could possibly do, I just had it behind my back and sideways and just was pulling the trigger, hoping that, you know, even if it didn't connect, it would maybe scare it or something, because I didn't know what it was. For all I knew, it was like some weird gorilla that escaped from the zoo. I didn't see its face or its body or anything, really. I just kind of saw its hand and its arm, or piece of its arm, like maybe like I guess its wrist. So I didn't even know what I was shooting at that point.
Yeah, that's
I
terrifying. And
didn't.
whenever you shot at it, it let out this scream, correct?
Yeah, when I hit it the first time, because I know for a fact I hit it the very, very first time, and I had to have hit it in the chest the other 2 times. I don't know how much it affected it, but it definitely ticked it off. I mean, it to be wasn't happy to take. I don't think anything, regardless of how tough you are, would be happy to be hit with a 357 round, no matter where it is.
Yeah.
But it definitely didn't like getting hit in the hand. I know
Okay.
that.
So,
Or paw hand or whatever you want to call it.
how far away was the Cahokia Mound from where you encountered this creature?
I mean, I don't know the exact distance. I just know it was probably within, 5 to 15 minute drive, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like as far as from, and it's hard to, it's kind of hard to say just from. It's not like back in the day where you had cell phones and all the like. I mean, we had cell phones back then, but like they were flip phones, and you weren't on them all the time. And all you had was the clock that was on the van, which was always wrong. So it's not like I ever timed the amount of time it took for us to go from Cahokia Mounds to the river spot.
No, I understand
But
that. And there's a lot going on there as far as the river. There's been a lot of cryptid encounters there. The Cahokia Mound, which I believe used to be a Native American city, and they claim that there used to be like a giant pyramid there where they would do trading, and a lot
there's a
of
lot of
artifacts have been
yeah.
found
St.
there.
Louis did too.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt
No,
you,
you're
but
fine. And
St. Louis used to be called Mound City, but
mhm.
we took all that stuff down and built all these buildings. So it's like talk about screwing up I don't know, the paranormal aspect. There's a lot of weird stuff that's happened in St. Louis. The movie Exorcist, I mean, that was literally based off of the exorcism that happened in St. Alexis Hospital on 4500 Broadway. So yeah, there's a lot of crazy stuff, crazy paranormal type history in St. Louis.
Yeah, pretty much the city is built on top of Native American grounds, and there's all kinds of artifacts underneath the city. And it's a shame that it's all plowed over, and there's a civilization there now built on top of an ancient civilization. But
Right.
what I found interesting about your story was when you mentioned the pack of wild dogs, and I interviewed a gentleman from Youngstown, Ohio, who had a close-up dogman encounter, and that's what he said. He was at an abandoned area, and there was rumors of wild dogs out there, and people kept running into them. And when him and his friends were out there, they ran into a dogman, and the dogman actually killed some of the dogs that were out there. and they were pretty much trapped in the old abandoned building, and the Dogman went in there and tried to get them. I'll send you a link to that, and I'll also put a link in the description if anyone wants to listen to that. But the horrifying, or the bad odor, that is very interesting. You said it smelled like death, correct?
Yeah, no, it was 100% death. Like, it wasn't, I didn't, I've heard, I just started, learning about this stuff recently, or listening to podcasts and stuff about this stuff recently. Like, I didn't know what a dogman was until maybe a year ago or something like that. So, like, in my mind, this whole time, this thing was a mutant or something, you know what I mean? Like a werewolf mutant or something. Like, I had no idea what it could have been. But yeah. So
Yeah, and I understand it's hard to place what that could be when you encounter something so terrifying. Um, let's see what else. How, like, what can you describe the creature as? Like, what did it look like? You mentioned the X-Men earlier. What did it look like exactly?
I mean, at closer, when I actually got, so like I originally kind of described, when I was describing like its claws, like, and just its claws, like when I saw the hand, like Sabretooth's claws in like that one X-Men movie that everybody hates because they screwed up Deadpool. The what do you call it? Like, yeah, his claws, like how they extended from his nails or whatever. That's what the claws reminded me of. Like, that was the first thought that went through my head. Except for its hand was, hairy. It had like, I don't know. It honestly, it was kind of well groomed. To like, other encounters that I've heard where people are like, they look real mangy and gross and stuff. Like, these did, or this one at least didn't. The one once that I saw out of the back of the van and the hand and all that, it didn't. It didn't look so. It didn't look so nasty. It looked well groomed. Like, so there's like the. I guess I'm just trying to think of werewolves that I can, that uh, that I've seen in movies and stuff. Like, I guess Underworld, but if it had really nice baths or something. Do you know what I mean?
No, I
Like,
know exactly what you mean. The Bigfoot that I encountered, it looked like a black bear, like coat that somebody washed and used
yeah,
conditioner on,
yeah,
like
yeah.
real, I don't know, like a really nice coat.
That's what, yeah. So, and that's kind of, yeah, or like, you ever see, I'm sure you've seen, grizzly bears and stuff like that, like their coat where it's real nice and just nice looking. Like, I mean, it looked like it had just went to a doggy pamper place or whatever and got washed. It wasn't that mangy, ugly, scraggly look that you see in some of the movies or whatever. It was a better looking version, I guess.
Yeah, I
Um,
know exactly what you mean. So it had really long claws, correct?
yeah, I mean, long in the, yeah, I mean, its hand was compared to my hand. Its hand, so like I don't know, I don't have big hands, but I don't have small hands. I got like whatever hands. Just, I guess my hands are about, I don't know, I want to say 7 inches, probably from, wrist to middle finger. And it was, I'd say, at least 16 inches long, probably. And then plus the claws. Claws were probably about 2 to 3 inches long. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
I,
really
I,
big
it's
hands.
freaking ginormous. Yeah. Like, and it just, and I remember like its forearm, like the way the muscle was popping out and just how big that was too. And I was just like, oh, man, hell, you know what I mean? It was, yeah, it was very, like I said, it's almost, it's like, I don't normally stutter, but like it's definitely making me like really remember it now, thinking about it. Like, it was something where it's like, I felt like if that grabbed me by the neck or whatever, it wouldn't even have to squeeze hardly. It could probably have just grabbed me by my neck and just turned its wrist a little bit and it would have broke it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So you didn't know what you were shooting at, what type of creature it
Uh,
was, but you knew without a doubt it wasn't human.
Yeah, no, it was no human being. That's for sure. It could, I mean, unless they make, you know, people with saber tooth whatevers and hair like that, and you know what I mean. There's no way. Neanderthal maybe, but inbred with a wolf, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like it was
Mhm.
no, no human for
Okay.
sure.
So let's move on to the part where you and your friend saw the one lying face down and it looked like it was missing a head, and you saw another one on all fours. Can you describe the one that was laying down?
Yeah, so it had a tail. I could see that. You know what I'm saying? It had like a kind of like the Alaskan Malamute's tail a little bit, but obviously it wasn't sticking straight up. It was dead, so the thing was to the side, and I couldn't see its head because I don't think it was there. And there was, I mean, just a huge puddle of blood in like the sand or whatever. But and I guess I'm assuming that's where the old man had hit that one in the head with the slug a couple times or something. I don't know. I Like I said, I don't know for sure. We never talked to him about it. He would never talk about it again. So I'm assuming he'd hit that. It did have like a, I want to say like a mane on its back. You know what I mean? Like it looked like a hump, but it wasn't. Like I thought it, like the more that I've thought about it, it looked like it had like a weird humpback, but it wasn't. I don't think it was a hump. It was like it just had really really thick. So it had thinner hair for the most part, but then it had like really thick hair around its neck and then going down its back that ended in like a what do you call it? Like a triangle, so to speak, to its tail. And like I mean, you could see its muscle. It had, I mean, it was jacked. It, it would have been. It looked short because it didn't have a head. It looked like it was about, I don't know, 6'5" maybe without its head, but and it had the back turned dog legs. You know what I'm saying? It had a pretty um I I mean it just looked like as far as I can in reality, I mean it just looked like a werewolf because it was completely spread out. But it's weird that you asked me that because I haven't thought about that in a long time, and that's like I saw it more in my peripheral to an extent because I wasn't focused on it. I was focused on the other one that was staring at me and it was looking me right in the eye. But yeah, I mean now I can kind of like the visualization that I've got of it. It just looked like something face down, and it did have its one arm out, so I could see that, and I could hand claws, giant ripped out looking thing. But and the other one, at the same time though, I in that moment I just thought of it. I was still, I guess I was in shock is the easiest way to put it. Not to mention my head just hit the ceiling like 3 or 4 times. But so I was a bit dazed, I guess. But and then and like I didn't, I guess in reality I didn't get the greatest look at it. But the other one I got a great look at because it looked me right in the eyes. And like I said, it had like those amber orange eyes. And it was on all fours, but it almost looked like a person sitting down. Like, and then because its arms were so long, I guess, and that, so to speak, like, and then when it stood up, it was almost like it was mocking me. Like it was like, you didn't understand that, did you? Or you didn't know that was what was happening, did you? Like it was it. I don't want to say it smiled. I'm not gonna say that, but it gave me a look like an intelligent, like it had some form of intelligence going on. Like it wasn't just some dumb animal. Like it knew what was up, and I guess, I mean, to chase us would have brought it. I feel like that's why it didn't chase us too, is just because to chase us would have brought it right past the railroad tracks where it didn't want to be, because you get past the railroad tracks and yeah, there isn't a whole lot there. It's a bunch of rundown bullshit and stuff like that. But it only takes about a quarter mile, and then all of a sudden you're in a town, you know. So I feel like that might have kept it from chasing us too, but I don't know for sure. I'm not like a specialist on Dogman thoughts or anything.
Yeah. And did this thing look evil?
I mean, I can't say that it looked evil. I'm not gonna say that it looked like demonic or anything. It looked intelligent. It looked like a predator. I mean, it looked like something that, wanted wouldn't or well, it looked like something that wouldn't mind ripping your head off, like, and having absolutely no remorse. And also, and when you add that with intelligence, I guess you could say that that would be sadistic, but I wouldn't say that it was evil, like more survival type. You know what I mean? I guess more of a just, if it's me or you, it's gonna be you type thing.
Yeah.
But
And do you mean intelligent, like kind of like when somebody has like a really smart dog and you can just look in their eyes and tell that there's like thought process going behind it?
oh yeah, I mean, I think it's smarter than just a smart dog, man. I mean, it really looked like, I mean, almost the same intelligence as me or you. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I've thought about that a lot now that I've like actually kind of researched stuff, and I was just like, man, I wonder, it could have been having the exact same thought that I was having. Like, you just killed my friend, but I can't do anything about it right now because of what you're doing. And if it was the, shoe was on the other foot, say, and they would have grabbed him, and I wouldn't have been able to do anything about it. At the end of the day, I'd have had to just take off and get back to the van. I wouldn't have been able to. It's not like I'd have been able to pull him away from them or anything like that. I mean, unless I was had really well aimed shots and knew what was going on, but I had no idea what was going on when it started. So, you know what I mean? And it really only lasted maybe 45 seconds at most. So, and it was all just kind of, for the longest time, it was all just a blur. Like, it was kind of a repressed memory that I tried not to, you know, and I even, for the longest time, I even tried to convince myself that it was just wild dogs or whatever. So
Yeah.
I didn't until I started like actually hearing about this and stuff like that. Like, that's when I was like, wait a minute, I fucking saw one of those. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where it's like it clicks now that we've got access to that kind of stuff. It's like, holy shit, like that's what you actually saw.
Yeah. And did you ever go back to the area to see if there was a dead creature there?
Oh, absolutely not. We no, we were not. The old man was like, we're never coming back here. We can train somewhere else. We didn't. It took me almost a decade just to go back to Cahokia Mounds. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, and when I did, obviously it was the middle of the day. There's tourists, there's people, and it was like a normal time to go there. Like, yeah, no, I've never been back there. I've considered going back there now that I'm older and now that I have knowledge and stuff like that. I mean, this is one of those things that now it's like, once you start to really look into it and stuff, you kind of become infatuated to an extent, and you're just like, "Shoot, maybe I should go back." But I don't even know if that road's still there. It could have been, it could be grown completely over. That river, that stretch of river, that whole beach could be washed out. I have no idea. I haven't been back in that area, that part of that area, in a very long time. So,
Yeah.
I mean, almost half of my life, because I was 17. I'm about to be 34. So,
Mhm.
you know.
Was there a cemetery nearby? Do you know?
I mean, there's a lot of cemeteries over in that area. On top of the fact that a lot of those mounds are considered to be burial mounds. I don't know if you know that or not, but so like, yeah, it was a metropolis. It was a big trading center and all that, but the mounds were burial mounds. a lot of them.
And do you think there's giants buried underneath there, or just Native Americans, or both?
Oh, that's a hard question. Like, I mean, I'm not educated enough on the subject to know, I guess, to give you a real answer to say that I know, but I could, I could see it. I could imagine it. I mean, and if you think about the secrecy of all the mounds that they dug up in St. Louis and just you know what I mean, and just built over, I mean, there's a possibility that you really never know. I mean, even on like Ripley's Believe It or Not or whatever, they talk about like how St. Louis has the largest underground cave system in the entire world.
Yeah.
So I mean, anything's possible. I'm not going to discount it. I'm not going to say no, but I don't know, so to speak.
Yeah, it seems
The
like the
main,
place is cursed. I mean, it has like the worst crime rate in anywhere in the United
uh,
States, and I mean, it's a dangerous place to be for sure. I was telling you about the Youngstown, Ohio Dogman encounter that I logged down on the channel a while back, and I just looked it up, and apparently there's some burial mounds there too in downtown Youngstown, Ohio, and I think it's called the Hopewell Burial Mound, and that's pretty interesting
oh,
because your encounter really lines up with that man's encounter that he had with the dog man.
that is crazy. I haven't heard that encounter. I don't, you know what I mean? I my knowledge is still pretty limited on this stuff. So you know what I mean? I can tell people what I've seen and stuff like that, but I don't, I've researched it to the most extent that you can, being, a single father with, full custody of your kid that holds down a full-time job and you know what I mean? It's not like I got time every day to be really, really researching this kind of stuff. So, but that's crazy. So you said that's in Ohio?
Yeah, I'll send you a link to that after the interview.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, yeah, the only other thing, as far as like, because East St. Louis, I mean, I don't know if you remember, it caught on fire back in the 40s, and that was pretty much what destroyed it. It was actually supposed to be like a booming city back then, and then it caught on fire, and a lot of people died, a lot of bad stuff happened, and then that was the end of it. You know what I mean? I don't know if you ever heard about that or not, but and East St. Louis is right by Cahokia. I mean, they're literally, if you've ever been to Pops or Sauget, they're all within maybe 5 minutes of each other, pretty much.
Yeah, I've played at Pops back in the day numerous times, and that's a dangerous area. So there's a lot of
Yeah,
crime
yeah.
there, and you don't want to get caught there at nighttime.
Mm-mm. You definitely don't. I mean, I grew up in South City. I grew up in Dutchtown. It's like the third most problematic area in the city. So it's like, it's kind of second nature for me. But at the same time, it's not like enjoyed second nature. It just is what it is. You know what I mean? It's just where I live. But
Yeah.
yeah.
And have you ever had any paranormal experiences out there? Anything else that's happened?
I mean, yeah. I so I'm sure you know about the Lint Mansion. Obviously, well, anybody from Missouri knows where the Lint Mansion is, at least, or at least anybody that's into paranormal stuff. So there's also the Lint Brewery, and I don't know if you've ever, being that you were a musician and stuff like that, so you can rent like rooms and stuff up there in the brewery. You can rent a room and you can set it up to where it's like you've got a recording studio, you put all your instruments in there, you can practice, you can do whatever, any time of day, any time of night, whatever. People party there all the time. And so like, and obviously we both talked about, we're both musicians, we've both been around, so I've been there a lot. And there have been times I've even caught like, the weirdest thing is I took a picture. So there's like an elevator, it no longer works, but I took a picture and you could clearly see a face in it, and I was showing it to everybody like that night that I took the picture or whatever. And I was like, dude, do you see that face? And everybody was just like, yeah, holy shit, yeah, holy, oh man. And then like, I swear after, I think it was the next morning. I remember I went to show it to somebody, and I was like, where'd it go? And the face wasn't there anymore. Like, I don't know. That sounds so nutty to say out loud, but it's true. Every one of my friends would, account for it because they were all there the night I took it. And then I even posted on Instagram, and the face wasn't there the next day. So I guess I would assume that would be a paranormal encounter. And then, um, if you're smart and you really know, well, you don't have to be smart actually. You have to be really dumb to do the stuff that I've done. But if you know how to access the tunnels that are under that brewery, you can get down in there, and you're not supposed to at all. It's totally supposed to be totally blocked off, but you can literally take a tunnel from there to the mansion. If you get caught or you get lost, well, if you get lost, you're gonna die. If you get caught, you're gonna go to jail. So I don't recommend it, but it's just like, I don't know if you ever heard of Cement Land. Have you ever heard of Cement Land?
No.
So you know Bob Castle, right? The guy who made City Museum.
Hmm.
Okay, so he started building Cement Land. He died there. He died building it. Actually, his thing flipped over somehow a couple times or whatever. If you ever go in that place, well, it's really hard to now because they burned it down and the cops monitor it a lot. But back in the day, we used to go there. I got tons of pictures of that place, and it had a very eerie vibe to it. I'm not gonna say that it was. I'm not gonna say that I saw any ghosts or anything, but it had a very chilling vibe. You know what I mean? Just a different. Wasn't somewhere that I would ever spend the night at, so to speak. But as far as paranormal, that's about it. Other than like Saint Alexis and stuff like that.
Hmm. Have you ever like played with a Ouija board or had strange things happen in those regards?
Not since I was really really young, and when that was that was what made me decide I would never touch a Ouija board again, if that makes sense. Um, yeah, when I was younger, when I was like 17, we were up in my brother, who he passed away, but we were up in his attic or whatever and playing with a Ouija board, and I uh, we I don't know. I'm sure people talk about Hat Man.
Yeah.
You know who that is? Heard
Yeah.
of that?
Uh-huh.
And I swear to God, like it was the weirdest. Like everybody saw it too, but I was like, dude, it's gotta just be a shadow because we're looking at the window, and it just looked like there was somebody with that. But we're on the third floor. We're in the attic. We're not even in the anywhere else. We're in the freaking attic. So there couldn't have been a guy standing outside the window. And I was like, it's got to be a shadow. Like, just chill, put the thing away, whatever. Put the thing away. Um, Turned all the lights on, and it was still there. Turned them all off, couldn't see anything. Turned them back on, it was gone. And I mean, but that's the extent. Like, and I don't, that could have been a glare, that could have been the way somebody was standing. I'm not going to give too much credit to that, but it made my skin crawl, and I won't touch a Ouija board ever again because of that.
Yeah, that's a good decision. And you might have seen Hat Man. I mean, I hear a lot of people talk about it, especially people on my channel that have seen cryptids. I always ask, have they had paranormal activity, seen UFOs, aliens, or shadow people? And most of the time they
It used
say
to be,
yes.
yeah, it used to be a big issue. So like the reason why, like another one of the reasons I guess, and this is I haven't thought about this in forever, and I'm only remembering it because you brought it up. But my roommate, he used to talk about Hat Man all the time back when I had an apartment on Gasconade, and seeing him and all this different stuff. And I was just like, I'll be honest with you, I didn't see it. I didn't see any Hat Man. I didn't, whatever. But every time he would talk about it, I would get chills, like really, really bad chills, because I remember that experience when I was like a kid, really young, and in the attic with my brother and stuff. So, you know what I mean? It's just one of those. Yeah, I don't even like to think about Hatman because I feel like that manifests and conjures it. But I mean, I don't mind talking about it, but you know what I mean?
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. I've seen a shadow person before, and I can say from experience, just talking about it does cause things to happen. I mean, that's not going to happen every time, but sometimes whenever you just acknowledge it, it conjures up these things. And it's the same with Native Americans talking about evil spirits or cryptids. They don't want to talk about it because of that reason. And
Oh, yeah,
I've even
for
had
sure.
Bigfoot experiences where we're talking about Bigfoot, camping on the river, and all of a sudden Sasquatch activity starts happening. But I mean, you can't really predict that stuff.
Yeah, I don't know that I ever had a Sasquatch experience, but there was one time in my life when I was really young. I was probably about 9 years old, out at my mom's house. My mom, or well, with my mom and my stepdad, they built this house out in the middle of goddamn nowhere. Um, and there was a little creek or whatever that it was like part of our acreage or whatever. And I used to, like, whenever it flooded, it would bring in like small fish and stuff. So I'd just sit down there and throw a hot dog, a little bitty tiny hook with a hot dog on it in the water, and pull them out just for entertainment and then throw them back. And there was one time that I was doing that, and I remember, and like this could have been anything, but it is kind of odd that it was like a rock maybe like the size of maybe about a $50, just like smacked me like in the temple, and I was just like, God damn it, I was like, what the heck? But yeah, it could have fell off of something. I don't know. I'm not attributing that to Sasquatch at all, but I have heard they throw rocks at people, so I don't know. Maybe it did. Maybe it was a Sasquatch. It was out in Cedar Hill, Missouri. I don't know if you know where that's at.
Yeah, I know where that's at. Isn't that close to Potosi? I'm not sure.
Yep, it is. Yep. It's very, very close to yeah, Potosi, Six Flags, kind of like Highway W, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah,
can say
big
for
with
sure that I've heard a Dogman before. I think I was like 11 or 12 years old. It was in the summertime, I think around July or so. And I had the window open because it was hot back then. We didn't have the AC like we do today. And I was watching Family Guy on the TV. I think it was like a Wednesday. I was watching it on Cartoon Network. I had my compact Walmart computer on. I think I was like on AOL or I don't know, MySpace or something. And it was probably around like 9:30, 10 at night. And then I heard this werewolf howl. I mean, this deep guttural howl. And I always talk about this encounter on my channel, and I say it sounded like a PA system from Pops in Sauget, Illinois, just like a deep.
yeah.
I mean, it sounded like your classic Hollywood werewolf call, but just played through a giant PA system, and it came from the woods, and it lasted like 7 seconds or so, and I mean, my blood went cold. And as soon as that vocalization ended, I heard this scream, just like like a woman being gutted, basically. And I slammed the window shut. I got in my bed and put the covers over me, and I didn't come out till morning time. And I just wondered, like, what the heck was that? It was a monster, or my brother was out there playing a prank on me, or maybe somebody set up a PA system out in the woods and was messing with me. I always talk about that encounter. And another one was off of the Merrimack River. Me and my buddy Bruce, we would road trip after school. And one day, it was almost nighttime. We were going down an old highway called Highway KK, going towards Riverside Road, which leads you to the Merrimack River. But basically, when we were going down that highway, we saw eye shine, and it was a possum crossing the highway. So my buddy stepped on the pedal, and he was going like anywhere from 70 to 80 something miles an hour, and he was going to hit that possum. And I was just thinking, like, what the heck what are you doing, man? And as soon as we got
Right.
down that hill on the highway, this giant creature leaped out of the woods, and it snatched up that possum, threw it in its mouth, and like shook it around like a rag doll and tore back off into the woods. But this creature looked like a giant blue pit bull, but its head was more like a wolf, like kind of like a hyena, and it was like this gray blue color, just like a blue pit, but it had this mange around its neck that was like a lion. But the rest of the hair was really short, and it seemed like its front legs were longer than the back legs. But the thing was the size of a lion, and I mean, it was huge. It dove out of the woods and freaking snatched up this possum and ate it. And we almost hit the thing. And he slammed on his brakes and was like, "Whoa, what was that?" So whenever you were talking about that creature that was face down, how it had like a mange, like that's instantly what I thought about. And I always wondered, like, what the heck was that? Maybe it was like a wild dog out in the woods, like Cujo. And then I started hearing about Dogman encounters, and then later on I heard about hellhounds. I don't know if you ever heard about that, but
I
that
well, the
I think
first
that's
place
what it
I ever
was.
heard about yeah, the first place I ever heard about hellhounds was on Supernatural, obviously. You know what I mean? Because there's where they're invisible and they rip you apart. It's like the worst thing that could possibly happen to you is if a demon sticks a hellhound on you. But that was, that's completely fictional as far as we know. But that's the first time I ever heard about a hellhound. But I have heard different things about Mark Twain National Forest and stuff, and hellhounds out there. People seeing those, or that's at least that's what they call them. But yeah, I don't know as far as it's one of those things where it's like I don't know, I'm not one of those people that's gonna like pretend they know more than they do because I don't, so to speak. I just I just know what I've seen and stuff like that. I've had, I've I've had like other experiences with other type of stuff that, but not in Missouri. So like in Tennessee and North Carolina, I've had some weird experiences. It's weird that you say that about the thing that you saw. There was one time when me and my ex-girlfriend were driving back from camping, and I looked over and I could have swore there was a car and it was parked with the headlights on, and it looked like there was a werewolf standing in front of it, but on all fours. But this was 100% Hollywood looking werewolf, and I just remember being like, "That's a statue." You know what I mean? Like in my head, I was like, "That's a statue," and I just looked away, like I don't even know. I don't know what I'm seeing. I'm drunk, like type thing. This is how my mind processed it. But it's weird that you said that because that was if you take 55 south or 21 or whatever far enough, you pretty much in the boonies, like off the old Piney River and stuff like that, or the Huza and all that, those type of areas. It was like it was in that vicinity. Or if you take Highway 30 past Ditmer, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So where exactly did this occur? You mentioned the Who's all.
So I'll be totally honest with you, I don't know because this was before I was countrified, I guess, if that makes any sense. So this is before I was countrified, but it was like, or at least I guess, I don't know, in the as far as country people would consider countrified, like even though I've hunted and fished and done all that stuff my entire life, this would have been after you go down Highway 30 through Ditmer all the way, and then there's like that, I don't know, there's like that weird road that kind of either puts you on a highway going one direction or, going further south, but it's like a two-lane highway. Or if it's even a highway, maybe it's just a road. I don't know. But it would have been in that general vicinity. But I don't, I can't like give you a clear whatever because I don't remember. It's about 2 hours from St. Louis going down Gravois after it turns into Highway 30. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So like west of Cedar Hill Lakes on Ditmar Gravois Road.
Yeah, like the further, so like, because you know how gravel is, you take it all the way, it turns into Highway 30, or well, they just start calling it Highway 30 after that point. But yeah, that general direction, kind of, I don't know. And then I'm trying to think. I've got, like, I could think of some other stuff. Like in Eureka, have you ever heard? We used to call it the KKK house, but I don't know why we called it that. I'm pretty sure that was just a rumor. But I remember reading there was a rock that had like a eulogy or whatever for the person that lived there, and he was not a good person. I looked him up, and he was not a good person. and that house was ridiculously. There was we were trying to, so we had went back there. We had been there like before, and you could actually go inside and stuff, because it was kind of rotted down, and there were a bunch of little houses that were slave houses, I think, or something like that, and or whatever you want to call that. And then when we went back there, we were down there and they had everything boarded up, and it was so boarded up. We had baseball bats and axes. We're like trying to bust these doors down, and all of a sudden we look over, and one of those houses, the light turned on, and then the rest of them all turned on. And I swear to God, it was like a scene from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, minus the guy with the chainsaw or the ghost or the anything. But we were all so scared, we just took off running back for the car, jumped the fence. And as we're jumping the fence, a train goes by. And that's one thing that always happened every time we went there, was a train would go by. Which is probably coincidence because there's a train track there, so trains are gonna go by. But I don't know. We always thought of that as a weird paranormal place too. But it looked like it had like an upside down cross on it and hooks, and it was disturbing to say the least. But I don't know. I was so young that I can't. Just like Zombie Road and stuff like that. I'm sure you've heard of that place.
Yeah, there's some haunted areas near St. Louis County, and I think it has something to do with what we mentioned earlier as far as the city being built on top of Native American grounds.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, a lot of those were burial grounds. I mean, that's what that was. From what I've, as far as historically, from what I've read, I know a lot about history. So, or a lot more, I guess. I know more about history than I do about cryptids. And then I'm Potawatomi, so I'm like, I've got enough Potawatomi in me to I could go get my res card if I wanted to, but I wasn't born there. I don't want to. It's just one of the things. But yeah, as far as my mom, she's like, I want to say she's about 70% or something like that. Potawatomi, and then the rest is Scandinavian. So we've got we got some dark roots going in our family, so to speak. And then on my dad's side, he's um I guess they call it Prussian or something. I don't know. It's another form of, I guess we call them now Vikings, another form of that. And then he's got that in German, which is the same thing. My last name, literally in Old Germanic, translates to fight. That's all it means. It's really weird, but yeah. So, as far as my bloodline and history goes, I definitely would be. I don't know. I don't know shit. Actually, in reality, I don't know a whole lot about it, but
Yeah.
I just know what it means.
Yeah.
I'm not well educated. I should probably go look that up and speak to my distant cousins and stuff like that. I just haven't been able to do that yet. Haven't had that opportunity. But at some point I do want to go back to that place. Um Once I started to get into like really reading about it and realizing that, that experience that I had was real. I didn't hallucinate it or whatever. I didn't just hit my head that hard. You know what I mean? Once I figured that out, I just kind of got into just the idea of, instead of doing a bunch of research, I just got into the idea of, why not just get the proper, like, start getting the proper equipment and start figuring that part out. And then you really don't need to do the research. You just got to put yourself out in this situation and then see what happens. That's the way that I've been looking at it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to visit the Cahokia Mounds sometime in the near future. I just didn't want to go there by myself. I'm like, that part of St. Louis kind of, I don't know, makes me anxious.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, you got to. That's not even St. Louis. That's Illinois.
Yeah, that
You
part
know
of
what I mean?
Illinois. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, and it's. I mean, you've been to Pop, so you played. I mean, if you need somebody to go with, just hit me up. I'll go with you. I don't care. I've been there. I'm not scared. I'm not scared to go to the mounds. I've been, so since I did like, so how we did this interview, like where I actually got to tell a story and make sure everything's factual and not over exaggerated, not narrated, not AI created. You know what I mean? Not like because the last time that I told this story to somebody, it was, you know what I mean, over embellished and stuff like that. And I was just like, I want to set the record straight. You know what I mean? Let everybody know this is how it happened for real. All that extra shit, that was embellished. This guy made a movie, pretty much, or a small movie about it. That's
Yeah.
not what I wanted to hear. I wanted to just set the record straight, let the people know this is what happened. I didn't see the full body of the thing, when I shot it in the hand or anything. I didn't see that. I saw the shape behind the foliage, and when I say foliage, I mean like, just like a thick bunch of branches, so to speak, in an arm. That's all I saw originally when I shot it in the hand, when it made that noise. And it's kind of funny because you pretty much described it the same way. I mean, as far as the sound that you said you heard through your window or whatever, like the guttural growl and the woman screaming or whatever, woman being gutted.
Yeah. Was the house similar, like how I described it, just that deep? I mean, not even
I,
like a wolf. I mean, like a Hollywood werewolf call.
yeah, but just more, I mean, raspy, more, I don't know, more just like a monster. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? It had a more monstrous sound to it, like almost like if you could somehow find a way to mix like the roar of a lion into that, like just a deeper, much, much deeper sound. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you mean. And I can't really even describe what I heard because whenever I had that experience, that's what I said, a monster. Like, there's nothing else out there that could do that. No coyote, no wolf, like, no person. This was something that you've never heard in your life.
Exactly. Like not even, I mean, the most hardcore metal band couldn't, he couldn't even conjure up that. There's no way. It was nuts. But yeah, anytime you want to go to Cahokia Mounds, I got no problem. You know what I mean? I could take you there or whatever, or you could meet up with me in my neighborhood, and we can go there from there or whatever. That'd be cool. Because I do want to I want to get like drone shots from there, and I do want to try to find somewhere close to that riverbank and just for like a night, just camp out there and see what goes down. You know what I mean? It's been something that I've been wanting to do for a really, really long time. Like ever since I started paying attention to all this kind of stuff. And then like, there's a lot of other stuff that when I was in North Carolina and Tennessee, like I I guarantee you that I had to have the people, the whatever that I encountered out there had to have been like there was something not right about those people, if that makes any sense.
What did you
So
encounter out there?
I mean, most people I guess would say they're feral people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's one of those. I I mean, I could quickly shorten it for you,
Yeah,
but
that's fine.
I had friends that were they were growing weed up there in the mountains and stuff like that. It's before weed was legal. I was 19, so that would have been 10, that would have been 14 years ago. So they were growing weed up there and stuff like that, and they're all brothers and whatever. And I was doing some other sketchy stuff like I had always done in my life. So, and we had figured out that the grade of weed that they could only get a certain amount from the people that they were selling it to, whereas I had a buyer that would pay more, and I could take the weed that the guy was giving me to drop off, and I could give that to them, and they could sell that for more because it was a different grade. It was being shipped, from California. So, and then, but I could take their stuff, package it the same way, and get that guy the same amount. And nobody would notice. So, you know what I mean? Or at least on the other end, they wouldn't notice. We could only do this one time. We made like pretty good amount of money off of it. But their grandpa he only had one arm. And like he had told me, like he was like, because he used to hunt, I guess, I never realized people hunted raccoons and stuff like that. And I don't even know what do you hunt a raccoon for. But anyways, he had got one up in a tree or whatever and shot it. And then the next thing he knew, he was being dragged by his feet. And then he was in a shed and he had his arms were tied up or whatever. And this is a story that he told me. I didn't believe it for a second when I was hearing this. I was like, what the fuck? This guy's just trying to scare me so that if we get, park rangers or somebody shows up, like he's just trying to scare the shit out of me. So if park rangers show up, I'm the trigger happy one because they all think I'm some dumb city boy type shit. Anyways, and then he woke up, and the next thing he knew, heard gunshot. He could hear people like babbling outside, but he couldn't understand what they're saying. Then he heard gunshots, and his dad burst through the door with his uncle, and they have big families out in the South. Got him out, whatever. Woke up in the hospital, didn't have an arm, and I was just like, okay, whatever. And then we're up there hacking down the plants to get them ready to dry them for the next drop or whatever. Fast forward quite a bit. We're doing that, and it's another freaking situation where I got hit with a god dang rock. I'm sorry. Hopefully you can edit that out. And it was big. It hit me right in the chest. I fell backwards on my friend Ray, and he got up and he picked me up, and we could hear the gunfire or whatever from his so he had two brothers on the left, two brothers on the right. Heard the gunfire. All of a sudden, the Toyota 4Runner pulls up right to us, and the headlights illuminated. And there were, I swear to God, it had to have been 30 people. And it looked like they looked deformed, but at the same time, it almost wasn't like they were deformed. It literally looked like something had bit them in like some of them, like, they'd be missing ears or have their eye sewed shut, have an eye sewed shut. There'd be scars and this and that all over, missing fingers. Like, and I only caught a glimpse of it again. Just like, I mean, and I was just like, what in the fuck F, am I looking at? And then I'm in the truck and we get back. They were yelling at me because I went back and grabbed like some plants because I was like, what a waste. You know what I mean? In my head, I'm thinking this is a total waste. I didn't realize his brothers had already got enough for what we needed. And we're plowing down the mountain in this 4Runner. It's jacked up 4Runner. I don't know if you know anything about Toyota 4Runners, like from the late 80s, early 90s, but you could take them things anywhere you want to, as long as you got the right tires on them. And they can fit through stuff like those, big boy trucks that everybody's all proud of and stuff that are all shiny. Like they couldn't do nearly what those 4Runners can do. But so we're plowing down the mountain, whatever, and there's literally these people are throwing themselves at the freaking truck. And I was like, should we be shooting at them? They're like, they can't get through the metal, stupid. Like, this is the best way I could word the way they said it. I can't get through the metal, stupid. Like, okay. Shit. Okay, whatever you say, man. But anyways, I don't know. That I would say that would be that was a feral person experience, and that's another thing that I want to investigate at some point. So
yeah, that would be the area that they're at. I heard that they used to be in North Carolina and they were run off into the mountains in Tennessee.
Yeah, and that would make sense because it was so many years ago. So any, I don't know. I just want to find and prove something. You know what I mean? Because it's like once you've actually had those experiences, you, and you know that nobody believes you. Nobody listening to you fully believes you. No one's ever gonna believe you until you have solid 100% evidence. So it's like, to me, that's just like that's why I want. That's why I need to have some form of physical evidence or a really good photo that cannot be debunked, where it's like, oh, that's AI or whatever. Like, no, that's a real photo that was taken at this time at this da. You know what I mean? Or something. I mean, you gotta figure something out to where it can't be debunked, I guess. And that's the only goal that I have with all of this. Like, I mean, I could tell stories about it all day or whatever. Or, well, I can't tell them all day because I don't have that many, but I could tell stories about it, but I can't until I've got physical evidence. That's real proof. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. When you encounter something like this, it gets in your blood and you want to prove it.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I got two drones now. I got an FX30 Sony with a Tamron lens. I got a bunch of different stuff, plenty of guns, that's for sure. So that's definitely something that I want to try to make time for. It's just really hard with life. Being an adult, I wish I was that age again and had an interest in it, and YouTube and the world was popping off the way it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Josh. Well, do you have any other encounters or experiences you'd like to share?
Not right. I mean, not right now. No, I feel like we've been going on for quite a while. So
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Well, we'll talk more in the future about visiting the Cahokia Mounds, and I really do appreciate you for getting in contact with me and sharing your Dogman encounter here on Sasquatch Theory, and it truly means a lot to me, man.
absolutely, you have a good one.
Yeah, you too. You take care of yourself, okay?
Will do. You too.
All right. See you, man.
All right. Bye.
Bye. All right, Josh, thank you very much for sharing your Dogman encounter here on Sasquatch Theory. And I am sure that this experience terrified you for many years and you wondered what the heck this was. And like you said, it wasn't until you started listening to the cryptid subject and heard more about Dogman that you concluded that's what I encountered that day and that's what I took a shot on. I didn't know what it was, but I knew it wasn't normal. And these things are out there, guys. I've heard one before. I know I got a lot of stories and it sounds unbelievable, but what I heard sounded like a monster. Josh nailed it on the head. It's a vocalization that cannot be reproduced. When you hear something like that, it will terrify you, and there's nothing else that can compare to it. Josh's Dogman encounter was very similar to the report that I took from Youngstown, Ohio, and I thought it was very interesting that both areas have mounds nearby, and they're both known to be kind of crappy areas to live in the United States, and both witnesses claim that there were wild dogs running around in the area, and the color of the creature's eyes were both the same. I don't know, for some reason, something's telling me that this activity is connected with the mounds and the giants. I'm not really sure, it's just a theory, and I believe somehow the giants are trapped in between, and possibly they're able to manifest into flesh and blood creatures. But it's really hard to say, guys. It's nearly impossible to explain one mystery with another, and it's almost impossible to get physical evidence when you're concluding that it has to do with the spiritual. But yeah, that's all we have for today. I appreciate everyone for listening. Take care, everyone, and until the next one, be safe out in the forest.